Oh, I often wonder when, you know, you changed as a person, as an artist, that you found that strength to believe in your practice and your and the value of your practice that much that you are, you know, that you hear the criticism and you hear the people and you see the people around you, but you just have enough belief in going on. I often wonder if there was like a moment that it changed or if it was part of the time, and experiences and the falling and the going on, and if there will be a moment that I'm completely doubting myself again.
We are perhaps now at a higher volume than ever, consuming artworks in all the spaces we inhabit, both physical and digital. I consider myself as someone who appreciates cultural experiences, and once in a while also attempts to do some artistic production of my own. Yet I know little of what it's like to work as a professional artist. My own artistic ambitions died down somewhere in between becoming a student in the relatively bland field of human geography and a disillusioned service worker all at once. I saw myself as neither talented enough nor dedicated enough to apply for art school. And on some level, I must admit I was fearful of living a life of unemployment. I don't know when it happened, but at some point I made a more or less conscious choice that an artistic career is a non-career, a path that's too risky for me. Rumor has it that artists are starving, and I would rather not. This bias in me to view the artistic profession as an insecure one is also not totally unfounded in reality. Only a small percentage of practicing artists are able to live off their art alone, and the rest will more or less willingly have to take on secondary work. Artists are not protected by grand institutionalized systems that lift you up when times are hard. You have to pick yourself up time and time again. And this while also maintaining stable creative outputs, the streak of genius. The work done by artists is entangled in a precarious web where the lines between personal and professional, work and rest, abuse and care, worship and neglect are poorly drawn. And yet, the individuals working and living this reality somehow find ways to carry on. Making this film involved sending emails. Lots and lots of emails. I was scouting for participants, and my criteria was as open as any artist that may or may not be selling their art. Eventually, my efforts led me to a selection of artists coming from different practices and backgrounds. Getting in touch with these artists led me on a surf adventure around the city of Amsterdam. I myself am not from the Netherlands, so I knew little about how Dutch artists go about establishing themselves in the art world. What education do they have? Where do they go to exhibit their work? And what options do they have for funding? All these basic questions were rather new to me. And on an even more general level, what motivations do people have for going into this precarious hellscape of self-exploitation, instability, and burnout in the first place? The only way I can make sense of this in my head is to see the artist as a uniquely gifted individual whose passion cannot be suppressed by external stress. A true artist doesn't choose whether or not to follow their dreams. The dream was already chosen for them. They must simply follow along. This sets them apart from a pseudo-creative like myself that actually has to debate whether or not it's worth it. Of course, this idealized view of mine glosses over all the nuances that lie behind any artistic career. For every artist I met, it became more and more clear that there are no simple mythical answers to explain the creative biotope.
My name is Paul Digger, and I'm a visual artist or a painter. It is difficult to. I'm doubting myself what to say, but sometimes I say painter, and sometimes I say visual artist. And I'm working for 35 years as a professional artist, and I still like to do it. was very young when I was interested in art and not in art, but in making things, in drawing. I never had the idea to become an artist. I didn't know what it was. What is it? What is an artist doing? Is he painting his whole life, or in my case, or making sculptures his whole life, day by day? You know, what is he doing? Where is it about? So I didn't know when I started.
I'm Peim van the Sloot. I'm a visual artist, I'm an activist, and I'm also a wizard. Or at least I'm learning to become a wizard. Yeah, you kind of like are figuring out what you want to do in life. So you finish high school and then you apply for the art academy because you like to draw, you like to create things, images. Then you start the art academy and you kind of like get this educated in what is art and what etc. But at the end, I think I see my whole life as an art piece. So I think it's a very interesting way of look at what you do in life from a very creative point of view. And what it means to make art, yeah, no one really knows. It's also like a kind of like a feeling thing. And I think we miss that a lot in our daily life, like do things really on feeling or without knowing exactly why you do it. So this, I just really go on the flow of my intuition, I think.
I'm Maurice Bogaert. I would identify as a visual artist, but I think also when I was reading the questions, I was sort of preparing the talk we're having now, I was thinking, maybe I also more and more also identify with not only being an artist, but also being a teacher or a mentor. At that time it was okay. I organized my practice and my life in a way that I had a cheap studio, I had a cheap house, so it was doable. But it was also, I also had to work like 25 hours or something like that to make a little money, and then sort of having my practice next to that. And although I still don't work in my studio 7 days a week, so I don't really mind working on other things on the side, but I think at that time the balance was not right, because there was also periods I just was too tired or I couldn't work, or I think maybe that's also one of the reasons it took me 5 years or 6 years before. That was also probably part of the it felt like a slow start.
I was very young when I sold my first painting. And then I had the first exhibition. It went quite well, and but I married at that time when I was 30, in the beginning, after finishing my studies and also the academy, I had an uitkering, social security, for 7 years or something, and after that I became self-sufficient. So that's the beginning of. And I had once I looked to all the work I made a year, and I thought, when I sell everything, will I can make a living? Will I make from it, out of it? And I thought, no, my prices are much too low. So I went to a friend of mine. I said, what is the price? What can be the price of this painting? Yeah. And he said, there's only one of this. You cannot, how do you say, it's onbetaalbaar. You cannot give a price for it. It's huge. So then I doubled my prices, and I had an exhibition, and I sold 4. Oh, wow, it worked. So, and then this was the start, more or less.
I think it was, I worked as a designer for many years, and then I had 1 year which was very radical, in which everything changed. A lot of things changed. I stopped the company I was doing, graphic design, amongst others. And then I still had the studio space, and I kind of like decided, I did the art academy.
Yeah.
And in the academy, I really loved to experiment and play around, and we did photography, film, painting, performance art. And then suddenly I found myself working as a graphic designer, which in some with some clients it's very nice to work, because you work for the theater or for a dance production or if you're a musician. That's super interesting. But yeah, I wanted to focus more on autonomous work of myself.
What I had initially set out to ask these artists was how they navigate on one side having creative ambitions they want to realize, and on the other side having to make work that can bring in an income to live off on, and whether these two things can coexist in a peaceful manner. I quickly learned that what I thought would be a matter of conflict isn't always experienced as such. Equipped with a critical Marxist lens, I believe that marketization of art eventually must undermine its true, either revolutionary or self-realizing potential. One can deep dive into the literature on this topic, but it does not necessarily make it any more applicable to the actual lives lived by contemporary artists. The truth is that artists, like anyone else, have needs to be met and bills to be paid. And money is generally speaking the way to go about such. Part of making this film thus meant leaving the literature on the shelf and seeing the biotope and the role money plays in it for what it is.
Even your paintings?
Nobody would take them, so I had to eat them!
Da stimmt etwas an diesem Optimismus nicht und begann Marx zu lesen.
This is often the idea that there is a conflict between art and between what they call commercial. But I don't feel it like that. I don't experience it like that, because for me the primary thing is to make my art. After I have the art, after I have made a painting, it's lovely to sell it, and that somebody else is happy with it, and that I get my money and I can make a living of it. So I don't feel a conflict, and I never did.
My name is Barbara Rink. I'm a visual artist and I'm teaching at the Minerva Academy at the moment. On a very basic level, it's also bread in my mouth, if I sell, so that's, in a way, it's a drive, but it's sometimes I can get anxiety around it, okay, now if the grant money ends, and then some of the teaching jobs that I used to have for Corona are not on the same level still, so then I get anxiety, like what's gonna happen, which makes me want to finish these paintings even more, so hopefully I can sell them.
My name is Rosa Menkman. I'm a Dutch artistic researcher, also just an artist, but at the moment I have a job as an artistic researcher actually. And a lot of my practice also revolves around research. So the work that I make usually has a background in theory. I've never done an artist academy, right? So there they might have, the production class in which they also teach you how to produce. For me, the production part is always like, I wouldn't say an afterthought, but it's not the main part. Yeah. So I don't have that as my first motivation. I think it's something else that has creeped on me. It's more like keeping the thought about value, money, income exchange, so also contractual conversations, closer to me when I'm doing work. Yeah. That means that I do consider how there can be an exchange in terms of probably money, because that's basically what helps in this case, to keep that always at a service level. So I know what I'm doing it for now. I'm no longer just doing it because I want to just do it.
I'm Willum Geerts. I'm a Dutch multidisciplinary artist. I have a background in various disciplines. I've been making music all my life and doing theatrical stuff, and then I moved to art school and focused more on visual stuff. And through the years, all these things came together, and therefore, I am a multidisciplinary artist. It's not my main goal, but I always I found it important to, of course, make money. Yeah. So so I found other ways to make money within within the cultural world. I mean, or like in skills that I had or something else. So it's not necessarily selling paintings or something, but more, how you can work with your creativity on various levels.
Yeah, because my first answer would maybe be I don't care about money. Yeah. But of course I do. No, but I'm not doing it, and it may sound like a bit of a cliche. I don't do this to get rich of it, or that I have this dream. I have to buy this villa or this or that, because that's. I think. But I, of course, do like to make a living out of it, and I think for me, money, in a sense, sort of generating money with work, it's also for me, and that is important, a way to make new work. So every project generates money for a new project. So in that sense, money is important. And I'm also happy that I don't have to do any jobs or commissions on the side that I don't like, and that indeed sort of the teaching sort of became more or less a part of my practice as an artist, and that it doesn't feel like something outside of my practice. So I'm really happy in that sense. I'm really happy with the money I make with the work, but it doesn't feel like a goal in itself.
Part of the problem in the art world is payment, and but it was so normal to get underpaid. Yeah. And it's all about, because you want to create your ideas and share them with the world. That you take it for granted that it's not really well paid. Yeah. And I nowadays more and more start to refuse. Yeah. If you don't want to pay me, Or when I see because sometimes, it is difficult to get out of that system. Because a lot of people in the cultural world, also on the organization side, they have limited budgets. Yeah. So then it's like, we want to do this, but there's not much money.
And now we are in a world in which everything is digitally. We don't even see the money anymore. Everything goes automatic. We totally lost the touch of what money is. People forgot what money is. It's a very difficult subject also. People don't really tell you how much they earn, for example, because either they are ashamed or they think they earn too much, or they don't want to compare with each other. So all this kind of this fascination with money and transactions, and in combination with the very big world economies, the capitalism, the neoliberal way of living we have. I try to find with my work I'm searching with my work for alternatives to how can we have an economical exchange that it's not out of kilter with us being human or taking nature into consideration. Like one of the biggest problems is of course that everything needs to grow more, and we have this weird concept of survival of the fittest. Like everybody needs to be better than the rest. And with my work, I kind of I try to make people think about this. That you don't. Why would you need something that you don't, like you don't need too much? You can just have enough, or you can share, or you can pay with a different way than something like money. Like there are other values also than just money. There is value of time. There is a value of interaction, of friendship, of many other values that they are not very much present in the economy.
The final myth I want to address with this film is one that perhaps exists more in the inner dialogue we all have in moments of insecurity. Being a creative in the 21st century is undoubtedly lonely. Caught in the middle of digitalization of social life on one hand and the dismantling of welfare structures on the other, this is not the best time to be an artist. The struggles are real and perhaps any artist must go through them, but solitary it is not.
I was doing I think 5 or 6 shows that year, for which I all had to make a new work, and then I felt a lot of pressure because I had all those jobs, and then 2 weeks before the show I thought, okay, I have to just put this together, and I didn't like it at all. It was really too much. I couldn't balance it at all. And then when I would come to my studio I would just cry because I was just so tired, and I just didn't know where to get any joy from to work.
Nobody knows more than yourself what the limitations are of your art. I struggled with my paintings, every time again. So I know it's very, you can think it's very difficult to say, oh, this is good. You have to sell it because you're shy. You think, well, is it good, But I decided at one point, well, this is what I make. This is the best I can, and take it or leave it.
You're setting yourself up for stress. It's not the easy road of life. So let's build a portfolio. Let's try to put words to what our practice is. So if we're feeling lost, whether it's in the money bit or just in the practice and enjoying it and not knowing why you're doing it, you have also something to look at. That's what I'm doing. That's why I'm doing it. And then you can start back from there, and that's okay. I think, to me, that's what a research practice is. It's building upon older thoughts and going on with that, and it's also giving yourself always a place from where you can look. You don't feel entirely lost because you know what you did back, and you can just start from there.
Well, apparently for me, when times were rough or rougher, apparently, there's a coping mechanism, natural coping mechanism that brings up the solution. And on the other, I'm also part of a broodfonds. So in case something physical or something happens with myself, I have a backup for 2 years. I have a sort of a financial basis.
I think one of the things, and that's not only out of necessity, but I think artists are also very good in sort of setting up a structure, and sort of self-organized exhibitions, or the studio complex where we are I think are also very good at it.
But I think for people who know that they're or feel that they're an artist, that they find ways to cope with it. Because I don't think there is a grid or a construction that is the solution for that.
So, at this point in the timeline, I am beginning to puzzle together these different stories of struggles, precarity, self-organization, and solidarity. No more simple mythological statements, only endlessly messy realities. To understand the question of how to survive as an artist, I talked to one who reflexively centers her practice around that.
My name is Alina Lupu. I'm a post-conceptual artist and writer and photographer. I wouldn't say I necessarily make art about money, but I kind of ended up making work which reflected very much on the means in which I make a living. So maybe not directly about money, but more like there's this idea that as artists we also need to make a living next to our practice, because our practice doesn't really feed that much into the finances that we get. So then I ended up taking many side jobs along the way, and from those side jobs, they represented the way I made a living, but they also started to become this sort of fascination out of which I started making performances, or on which I started writing, because I found it quite tricky to get enough time to do something else and just focus on my practice. So I thought I might as well already have my topic at hand. And secondly, because I found that these are like side jobs are not necessarily topics, or weren't at the time when I started, which people really looked into, and I thought that necessitates some sort of like research from my side as an artist. Like throughout working as an artist since I graduated, I realized I'm like in this sort of precarious situation, and I define precarity as the idea that you can't really plan you can't have like some sort of horizon of planning, because you rely very much on circumstances coming together, things you apply for that work out or they don't. I mean, I'm also always like advocating for that. I think I don't have like full autonomy, and I don't want full autonomy. I want to be embedded in a system which is the arts, and I want that system to support me. Like I want to get funding as an artist, because I do contribute a lot beyond the means of, it's not just like a 9 to 5 kind of like clock in, clock out, I should be paid for that. It's like you can't really put a boundary on where my work starts and where it ends. And I need the system to support me, because I will give back to it. So I don't want to be like, I'm fully autonomous, fuck the system, I don't care, anarchy. I mean, it's nice to have anarchy as well, but it's just, the system should be there, and it should hold us.